Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm Jeanna.
And I'm Ivo. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I just would like to say that if people could know what goes on behind the scenes, I think they would get a riot.
Shout out to all the production crews out there doing their damn thing.
Yeah.
Because we feel you.
Because we a 2-people band.
Yeah.
And sometimes 2 people ain't enough.
It doesn't seem like it sometimes. I feel like if I just had 4 extra arms, we would be good. Right?
I don't know. I feel like 4 extra arms would potentially get in the way. I think I would like another able-bodied person.
Nah, I feel like if I could just, do this at the same time, fix that down there while adjusting the camera and drinking my drink, I would be good.
You'd be good?
Yeah,
okay.
I like that.
So happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Ivo and I had a hell of a weekend last weekend.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we were celebrating Ivo's birthday, and usually when it's Ivo's birthday, I let him shine and I let him have all the, all the fun. But when it's my birthday, Ivo thinks it's his birthday. So
no, it's our birthday.
Oh, it's our birthday.
Yes.
Okay. So this past birthday, I went into it like it's my birthday too.
I don't mind. See, the thing, I don't mind. You know me. I'm all for everybody having a good time.
I don't like to share.
I'm all for everybody having a good time.
Yeah.
Like you get some happy and you get some happy and let's all be happy.
We are so different in that way.
Yes, we are.
But I would like to say that I just want to recommend everybody, if you have not already gone axe throwing, I highly recommend it, especially to the ladies, because it was definitely like an aggression / stress reliever. I even felt sore the next day.
Yeah.
In the muscles that I used to throw the axe, because I was taking it very seriously.
Yeah, especially once you start landing them.
Yeah,
it gets a little bit competitive. Once you
heard what Ivo said, when you start landing them.
Yeah, when you start landing them.
I was landing them shits.
Yeah, I'll give you that. You and one of our
very good friends.
Yeah, one of our very good friends were killing it.
Yeah.
I went axe throwing one time for our friend's
bachelor
party, and I was killing it. I was even doing double axe throws and sticking them both at the same time. I mean, I could not believe how quick I picked it up, and I was just so in disbelief how horrible I did. Actually, I did the worst out of all of us.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
I think you had like 6 points.
I don't know. It was bad. It was terrible.
The game was to 21. Yeah, you were terrible.
I was in such disbelief.
But you were still having a great time.
Oh yeah, always, of course.
So
thank you for that.
Yeah, and then you're welcome. And then the weekend was also Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out, happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. So then we celebrated that. And now we're in like this gap week, right? Because Ivo and I, we have an anniversary coming up this coming Monday.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be married 12 years. So this little gap week is, we have a lot going on in the month of May. But interestingly enough, when it comes to choosing the topics for the show, I generally am the one that curates, the topics.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I run it past Ivo. So this past weekend, I was like a little bit outside of myself. And I'm going to link that in a second. So Ivo asked me, what were we going to talk about? And I said, you know what? I'm going to put the ball in your court. And, you come up with a topic that you feel is fitting. So the topic that Ivo chose, I thought was so interesting, which is, are hormones affecting your relationship? And the reason why I thought that was like uber interesting is because I was going through something pretty hormonal myself at the same exact time that you suggested we talk about hormones. So maybe TMI, I don't really care. This is Shit Talk Fridays. My menstrual came like almost a week late.
Yeah.
And of course, Ivo and I went through the what if I'm pregnant ordeal, which there really wasn't a question if I was.
No.
It would have to been like a Hail Mary type shit.
It would have had to been the fluke of all flukes.
Yeah.
And even that would have been like the most unexpected shit, because it just wouldn't have made any sense.
So because I track my cycle, I was like, what the fuck is going on, right? And I'm like, am I training too hard? Am I stressed out? Which, I'm really not. I'm like trying to think of all these factors. And because I track my cycle, I'm able to kind of see like how regularly my monthly comes. And because of that, because it was off and I wasn't pregnant, I was like, what the hell is going on? But like, lo and behold, Aunt Flo, she made her fucking appearance. I'm happy that she's here, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, could we have not, have to deal with all that other bullshit? Because I was wondering what's going on inside my body. So when you said, are hormones affecting your relationship, right? I thought about that because, I be in my feelings.
Yeah.
When it's that time of the month.
And it could be tough to navigate, especially if you're not able to identify what exactly is going on, either with you or the person that you're with. So I thought it would be an interesting topic to get into. Hopefully some people can identify with some of the things that we're going to talk about, maybe learn something, maybe apply some of these things to their life. Hopefully we can help somebody out.
Yeah.
At the same time, talk shit.
So when we get into some of the key roles that hormones play when it comes to being a woman, first and foremost is estrogen. I think that this is the hormone that most people, when they think about a woman, when it comes to a hormone, it's estrogen, right? So estrogen obviously plays a large part in our overall reproductive system. Even though men and women both have estrogen, I would say that estrogen is our dominant hormone. It's the hormone that really helps us develop as women, along with the other two, which is progesterone, and we have a decent amount of testosterone. But estrogen is what regulates our menstrual cycle along with progesterone, but estrogen is like the bigger factor in that. So it's interesting to me that like since my menstrual came late, I was like, is something going on with my fucking hormones? Do I have to? Because one of the other things is like if you have in a woman's body, if you have too much of one of the other hormones, it can throw your cycle off. So there are women that don't, there are women that have maybe too much testosterone, and it can affect their monthly cycle because their testosterone is like overriding their estrogen.
So what do you feel like? You were like working out a little too hard that week and your testosterone levels maybe got up?
I don't know if that's possible. Like, I don't know if me working out increases my testosterone. But what I can tell you is that when a woman does work out as, I don't want to say aggressively, but as vigorously as I do, it can disrupt your menstrual linkage to your body fat.
Yeah. So
you and I have had this conversation before about how body fat on a woman's body can be higher because it is essential for our reproductive system. Yeah. So where a man can function at like, I don't know, 3% body fat, I would probably die if you gave me 3% body fat. So,
but there's women. I feel like there's women out there who go there. I don't think it's something that is sustainable, but you can definitely go there for a short period of time.
I can't speak on that for sure, but what I can tell you is that the essential number of body fat for a woman's like reproductive system to work, I guess, normally, if you're not experiencing any other issues, is about 14%. So if you're at zero, you are
well, I wouldn't say zero, but
or even
3%.
I still think that is.
I've heard that number thrown around as if it's the number to hit when you want to be super lean.
I mean, for men, for me, I think for a woman, if you want to be super lean, I'm going to say anywhere between, like, if you want to pass that threshold of what is considered essential.
Like 6%?
No, I think that's actually, I think that would be dangerous to a woman. I don't know for a fact, but I'm going to say if essential is 14, I'm going to say maybe 12.
So why don't you just real quick, just touch on why it's so essential?
Well, it's essential for women to have body fat because of our reproductive system.
Yeah.
So we need it as almost like a safety guard.
Yeah. Basically, it's like if you ain't got no fat, then you're not going to be able to feed this baby that you're going to put into you.
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially. So your body's like, all right, well, since we don't have enough fat to even potentially host a pregnancy, then we're going to shut this shit down. Like, there's no reason for this this reproductive system to be even functioning right now.
Yeah, correct.
So that's why you say it's essential. Yeah.
In addition to that, some women will have a little bit more body fat in the abdomen area just to protect those organs. So that being said, you know, estrogen is something that is essential to us, along with progesterone and testosterone. I will say though, when it comes to testosterone, that is actually the hormone that helps maintain some of the same things that it maintains in men, which is overall growth, bone density, and your overall kind of like, it helps with mood.
Yeah, it helps with your mood. It helps with your sex drive. It helps with your muscle mass and strength. Yeah. Those are like the key roles that testosterone plays in a man. Yeah. And
see, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's up to say, and it also ties into a bunch of other stuff. I mean, testosterone, I feel like, plays so much more of a role in a man's body than estrogen does in a woman's body. It's crazy how it's tied into so many things.
So I think when I think about these two hormones, the way that I'm thinking about it is that estrogen is our primary. Yeah. And testosterone is our what is the word, like
secondary?
Yeah, like I would say that it's even like your third. Okay. Secondary, maybe it be close. But progesterone, I think, is a little bit more important than testosterone for us. Whereas for men, testosterone is their primary, right? So that being said, this is some of the reasons why I can be slightly envious of the way that hormones function in a man in the world that I'm engaged in, which is health and fitness. Because you and I, when we can go down the same road as far as fitness and workout regimens, you are going to see results faster than I will because of how my body is functioning hormonally overall. And there are times that it gets very frustrating when I can watch you day in and day out just like hit your mark, and I'm struggling with, you know, feeling tired. Maybe I'm getting close to that time of the month, which happens to me quite frequently. But then you watch me, you've seen it happen where it's a couple days before my period is scheduled to come, and I'm excessively tired. Yeah. More than normal.
Yeah, your body's working overtime internally.
And then, you know, like the day one, I'm literally a sack of potatoes on that day. I don't want to leave the bed, or I really don't want to do much of anything, and except for eat and maybe binge watch something. Yeah. That's really all I'm looking to do. And if I have to work that day, because, you know, my work schedule's not like a regular 9 to 5, it's somewhat like grueling for me because I have to be on my feet all day. It's a long day, and I'm usually like thinking about that, like, why does this have to happen to me type shit. So then, and then I watch you every day. You get up and you're like, it's a bright sunny day, I'm just gonna go about my motherfucking business. I wouldn't say
it's like that, but it's I can see how you might see it that way from the outside. But I've always been fascinated with the cycle that women have in comparison to men, and how it takes a month for women to go through their complete cycle, and in that month there's just this swing of hormones up and down throughout the month, as to where men, their cycles are daily.
Yeah, there really is no weekly or monthly fluctuation for men.
There is kind of a fluctuation, but it's really not. I don't believe it's felt, right? So the life cycle of the testosterone is about 7 days. And so every 7 days, the body's producing new testosterone, but it produces it at a rate where it keeps it pretty much level. So like, you know, every day it's producing testosterone, but it's to replace the testosterone that it, you know, is
that it's gone through that week.
It's gone through that week. And so maintaining the optimal levels, but throughout the day, it has its peaks and it has its lows. And so in the morning is typically when a man, his cycle is at peak and he's feeling the most testosterone, which explains why a lot of men wake up with morning wood, or they get wood in the middle of the night, because I mean their body is just producing it. And from what I understand, not 100%, but men get multiple erections throughout the night. It's just, this is the thing that they do. And then this is why men love morning sex, Well, I'm not saying all men, but a lot of men do. And it's, you know, it's at a certain part of their life where that even is optimal. I think it's, you know, from the ages of when puberty starts till right around in their like almost the 30s, you know, like it's at somewhere in that range, they start to, you know, that starts to dissipate. You notice that as a man because you'll start to lose that morning erection. It won't happen as frequent. That's a telltale sign that, you know, your levels are starting to dissipate. But it's just mind blowing to me. I've always been fascinated with the fact that, you know, it's a daily thing. You know, even as we later on in life, you know, as our levels start to dissipate, it's still on a daily cycle, you know. And I've always just, you know, I'm very intrigued by what women do and what women go through and how their bodies are so different from ours and the changes that they go through. And you know this, I've been very vocal about this. So a woman's cycle is something that always intrigued me as well in comparison to a man's cycle. So I've found that, you know, very, very interesting.
Well, a man's cycle is something that me personally, I don't even look at as a cycle. To me, it's just a daily thing, and I'm not trying to.
No. Listen, I get it.
I'm not trying to talk down on men, because it almost seems like a rewind to me. You know, like every night, it's just getting rewinded back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Men function on a circadian rhythm, you know, which means from day to night. Where I just recently found out that women function on what is called an infradian rhythm, which is a cycle, you know, and we go through certain periods within that cycle. And immediately, one of the first things that came to mind for me was a woman's cycle throughout the month reminds me very closely to the cycles or the phases of the moon.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because to me, a full moon is when a woman receives her monthly, and then after the monthly, she starts to fade back into its the moon is waning at that point. You know, the moon goes through waxing, full, and then waning, you know, so it's like it has those same exact phases. And in those phases, you see it full, and then you start to see it decrease, and then you see it go back to being full again. I think about that as far as, because moon and an egg, that is my first connection to it, and how the moon has to go through these phases in order for it to receive its fullness once every month.
Okay.
Or once every however many days that a full cycle takes, right?
I could see that.
So,
but now is that so? That's but a woman's cycle. I feel like it's a. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but as you're saying this, I'm thinking.
I was just thinking. I was just saying that, like, how a woman's body can relate to nature. That's what I immediately thought about.
Right. Yeah, I was getting that.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I kind of got that. It was just that you were like the phases were 3 phases as to where a woman.
No, there's more than 3 phases in a moon. In a moon, there's actually 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 12 to 13, depending on like the way that things are happening with the moon. So, I was giving the names of the phases, and the reason why I say that it's because it moves a little bit each time, and that's how a woman's hormones are functioning within her body throughout those 28 days. And in my case, since my menstrual came 6 to 7 days late, it was like 36 days that my body was going through this fluctuation of hormones, and it can be very frustrating. And since we're talking about how can hormones affect a person's relationship, there are times where I'm premenstrual or I'm postmenstrual or I'm menstrualing, I'm on my menstrual, that I'm extremely or easily agitated. And the agitation comes with a couple different reasons. It is obviously I have a loss of my primary hormone, which is estrogen. I have a huge drop in it, right? So I could potentially be a little bit more irritable. In addition to being a little bit more irritable, I'm more tired. So it's not just the hormone, it's the fact that my body is a little bit exhausted from what it's going through. So my ability to remain, I guess, more rational or less emotional when that is happening is minimized.
So what do you know what hormone is associated with the irritability? So, for example, in a man's body, testosterone, high levels of testosterone is related to aggression. And so when a woman is going through her cycles, at some point in the cycle, she becomes very irritable.
Well, this is not every woman, but I was only speaking from myself.
Okay, but it's not an uncommon thing. I mean, you hear about this, you know, that many women deal with this as part of their menstrual cycle.
I personally think that it has to do with the lack of energy. I don't think it's necessarily, I don't think the hormone is and don't quote me on this, but when I think about it, I'm more irritable because I'm tired. And it's not because the hormone is affecting my brain in a way where I'm like, I'm less willing to hear people's bullshit. No, I'm just more tired, so I have a lower tolerance in my interactions with people. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
You know, where a woman may be able to, when she has higher levels of energy, right? She can maybe withstand a little bit more bullshit. You know, a little bit more annoyance, you know, maybe if there's the kids are, you know, making a lot of noise or, you know, tearing shit up, or your husband's asking you dumbass questions or whatever it is, when you are full, right, of all of your hormones in there at their, not necessarily peak levels, but at their, like at a, you know, at a good normal level, and they're not depleted, your ability to see things more clear. And I think that would hold true to a man. If you have good levels of testosterone, your mentality, I would think, functions more reasonably.
Absolutely, yeah.
Versus it being high or low.
You have this sense of competitiveness that really pushes a man forward when his testosterone levels are optimal, which then will also is directly related to being able to think sharply, you know, and be, you know, have laser focus. And so, if a man had cycles like a woman would, I would think that there would be points of the month where he would feel foggy, you know, and where he's not feeling sharply, thinking sharply, or not feeling 100%. I just didn't know if there was a hormone that was related to that irritability, or is
well, I can definitely tell you right now that progesterone and estrogen play a part in a woman's overall behaviors. But I do definitely think just think about when you're tired.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's beyond tired. It's literally like exhaustion on top of feeling uncomfortable. So when a woman is experiencing her period, she is tired. She has cramps. She has backaches. She maybe have bloating. She may have like a little bit of nausea. So think about all of those things, and then someone asking you a question. That's annoying.
The only thing that
your tolerance is going to be very different.
Yeah, I think about these things, and none of them really make me feel like they would make me irritated. But what I can relate it to is that I am like the worst with headaches. Like headaches, I don't deal with them. And so when I have a headache, that shit makes me irritable.
Yeah, and headaches are a common thing when women have their period or their premenstrual.
Yeah, because it really like amplifies anything that's like stressful in my brain. It amplifies the headache. So it just makes me super sensitive to bullshit.
Yeah.
As you would say.
I can tell you that you and I have experienced things that are directly related to my cycle that you have now come accustomed to. So after I've gone through my menstrual, of course, there comes that window where I'm starting to see that increase of my hormones. And I'm looking at you funny all day.
There's TikToks going around about that right now.
Right?
How's it go?
Women are fucking feral.
Yeah, let's paint the picture real quick. So it shows the ones that I've seen, it starts off with a guy coming around a corner and like ducking and cowering, and he's got like some type of weapon. I think the one guy had like a Nerf gun. Another guy had like the remote and a pillow, you know, and he's like shivering, you know, trying to hide from something, and all of a sudden like it reads my wife or girlfriend 2 days post after her period.
Yeah.
And then she comes creeping around the corner, and then you get like a soundbite of like a tiger or something like that.
Because we're ready to attack.
Yeah, and it's like a low rumble, like growl, you know, and and they're prowling, like it's and
we start to become in heat. Like this is another One of the reasons why I love running, and maybe I've said this to you before, and I'm not sure if I have, it's free thinking time for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I run, I go through these cycles when I'm running of like the first couple of minutes, I'm like, man, this really sucks, right?
Yeah.
And then once I get past that part, my mind just opens up to all of these thoughts, because there's nothing else I can think about, you know? Maybe I have some music playing in the background, but a lot of the times I have a lot of free think. So interestingly enough, when I was running today, I just actually had something on the TV. It's a show on Netflix called Moving Art, and it is different landscapes from different countries. There's no voiceover to it. There's no direction, in the sense of like, there's not a person directing what it is you're seeing. You're literally just watching a camera film landscapes, animals, people of that country. It's quite
just random.
I mean, there's obviously like a vibe to it, but it's just not random shots. It's very cohesive in the way that it's shot. It's fucking stunning to watch. So when I'm running, I'll just put that on, because I love to. I don't have to listen to anybody. I don't have to follow anything. I'm just seeing scenery. So today I chose the scenery of Africa, and there was this one part in the episode where they were shooting lions, and you know, it was just lions being lions, but it was so beautiful because I was not listening. There was no one telling me what I was watching. I was just watching lions in their natural environment. And there was a part of it where you see some lioness and the male, and they're obviously, it looks like the female's in heat, and they're, you know, looking to engage. I find that interesting in the sense of how nature works when it comes to, because I've been thinking a lot about how nature is, you know, directly tied to who we are as beings. And in nature, the males are engaging in sexual activity with the females for the most part when they're in heat. They're looking. The women are putting out these signals. You know, they're spraying, you know. We watched that one video, forget what show it was, but I think it was either like a leopard or it was some sort of big cat. And remember, the female was spraying, and then one male came, and then another male came, and it was like, nah, bro, I was here first. I don't feel like I see it in the animal world where males are engaging.
It does. It happens. I think it happens with birds. So what
they engage when women.
What will happen is for some, I believe that there is a season, right?
Wait, but pause for a second. I just wanted to tie that into what we were talking about, which was when females are in heat, because you know we're on the prowl, ladies and gentlemen. We are. You and I have joked, I'm like a kitty cat. I'm like purring and doing all that kind of stuff. And then, funny enough, today I watch it on the show, and I'm just like, and the males, they're looking for that shit. Yeah.
So birds, funny enough, they when it is season, they end up doing a multitude of things, whether it's setting up an elaborate nest to attract a female, or doing these calls where you know, a female will come in, and when the female comes,
we actually saw it the other day when we were walking our daughter to school.
They do these elaborate dances and all types of,
which I love all of that stuff.
So birds are very engaged. The male birds are very engaging to the females when it comes to mating.
Oh, I think you missed the point. What I was trying to say is, in nature, the men are not trying to engage when a woman is not looking to engage. It's always in nature, when it comes to animals, the males are waiting for a woman, or a female to come into season.
Right.
And they're doing almost everything and anything, especially birds. One of my favorites is in Planet Earth series. They have that one bird in the Amazon that he's black, and then he opens up his wings and he turns blue, and he does this like funny ass dance. But he's doing that just to win her over amongst all the other birds. But he has still waited till she's in season. So when you and I talk about how hormones are affecting one's relationship, when we talk about it in the human aspect, where a lot of the times problems can arise is when someone in the relationship is looking to seek out a desire sexually, and the other partner is not looking to reciprocate because they are not in season. And I find that dynamic so interesting because I feel like we're probably one of the only species, I'm not a fucking scientist, that we function this way.
Well, I think, you know, monkeys kind of they function on,
but they're our closest relatives.
Yeah, they function kind of on the level of where we do a little bit, because you'll see them engaging in sexual acts just to do it. You know, and there will be no rhyme.
They actually engage in sexual acts, same sex too.
Same sex, yeah. I mean, they'll get it in.
So
and they'll do it for pleasure.
Yeah, there's always the exception to the rule, but they are our closest relatives. That being said,
outside of that, I don't
that
think
makes sense to me, right? So I would love for you to tell me a little bit about the male hormone so that we can kind of like, I can hear your point and then we get into the fucking thick of it.
So, man, where do I even start? So the male hormone is, because it doesn't cycle the way a woman hormones does. And it peaks in the morning. It's like every day we are ready and looking to engage in sexual activity.
Okay, so maybe I didn't mention this. So do you know when a woman's peak is of hormone?
From what you're telling me, it's 2 days after the menstrual.
No. That is not peak hormone.
That's what I didn't think so, but it seems that way, because that's when you're really looking to engage. It should be when you're ovulating.
It is. That is peak. However, because there's, to my understanding, just outside of your menstrual, you just start to get the injection of the increase of hormones, so it builds the drive back up.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I know just from our experience, you know, when you're ovulating, like I could tell.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, you're radiating it. You know, I could smell it. You know?
Well, so I was just wondering if you knew exactly what a woman's peak is in comparison, because, you know, man, obviously it's every day,
all day, every day.
A woman's peak would be essentially during ovulation, which is about anywhere from a 4 to 6 day window, depending on how every woman's body's functions.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, a man's, it's sad to say, like, it just really is a daily thing, and
is it sad?
Yeah, it is, because
meanwhile,
there's such a huge disconnect between men and women and their sexual desires, that it causes a lot of issues between couples. You know, and navigating through those issues and finding a middle ground can sometimes be very difficult and very challenging. Which is, I'm assuming, this is just my personal assumption, please, you know, which is why a lot of men step outside of their relationships, because of that disconnect. You know, there's in the beginning of the relationship, I believe that women are very much about the lust of it at the beginning, and are very, very intrigued and very turned on about everything that's new about the relationship, not realizing that that's the way the man is all the time. Yeah,
and the man is looking at it like, this is great.
This is great. Yeah, like, I mean, you know, it's fantastic. And then after some time, you know, things kind of normalize in a relationship, and they're not so much intriguing and lustful for the female in the relationship.
No, you mean the male.
No.
Because you said women.
Women find the relationship very lustful. They find they're very intrigued by the newness of it.
So you were saying once it becomes more normal, they kind of lose that.
Women lose that intrigue. It's not as intriguing as it was before. The lust kind of diminishes, and it just, you know, it starts to take on a different role, where that's something that, in your words, needs to be primed. But the man doesn't. You know, he just continues on this every day, like, you know, what's up? I'm ready to go. And it doesn't take much for a man to get primed.
Do you understand, though, why that loss of lust? Because when you say that there's, like, you know, a woman starts to, like, settle into, you know, the dynamic of the relationship, and, you know, maybe, and again, this is not for everybody, but, you know, the removal of that lust starts to diminish a little bit. But do you understand why a woman in the beginning is more willing to engage in sex more often versus after some time has passed in the relationship?
Do I know the answer to this? No.
Okay. So I'm not a professional, but I'm going to tell you from my experience what happens with a lot of women is in the beginning, women are navigating the sexual activity between them and that man. And it's a woman is trying to find out what there is offering wise. So you were trying to get to understand, you were trying to get to know this man sexually. So you're taking multiple attempts at it. And it's interesting every time because you're not really sure where this is going to go. But then let's say you're, I don't know, 6 months into a relationship and now you understand, you're able to predict what sex is going to be like with this partner because you've kind of fell into a rhythm with this partner.
So, okay. So what I'm hearing,
it's basically charting the unknown, Ivo.
Right. So what I'm hearing is like, there's a lot of, oh, that's cute. Ooh, that's nice. Ooh, I like that. And because it's all new and engaging, it's very stimulating and in many different ways.
Yes, and that ties into lust. You know, this is a new person to you. There's new smells. There's new arousals. There's new feelings. But then when you get into a rhythm with this person, there are some things that happen even deeper. You know, you grow a deeper connection to this human being, and you then start to make connections in other ways that are outside of sex. You know, because sex is a driving force. You know, you got fucking pheromones going on. You got, injections of dopamine happening when you're meeting a new person, right? There's a lot of other factors that are taking place. But now, like I said, when you get into a rhythm with a man and you understand his body and he understands your body a little bit more, you then now are having sex in a way where you hopefully understand each other a little better. And the prediction of how sex is going to happen is already in your brain. Right. So when that speaking from a woman, when that starts to happen, it can get a little bit, the prediction plays into why we may need to be a little bit more primed because the excitement is gone. Like we already know what's going to happen. Right. You know, and for a man, that's okay.
You hear that, fellas? So when things start to die down a little bit, you gotta switch it up on them.
Yeah. And switch it up in a way where, you're still making sure that your partner's comfortable. But if you're just like, I'm going to beat it up every day, girl, for fucking 5 years. No.
I mean, all right. So do you think it's possible if the man is really on top of that engagement, that it's possible to really keep a woman in that state of where she's very easily primed? Because he's constantly coming up with all these different methods of stimulating.
Are you asking me, is it like easier to be more consistent with your woman sexually if you're constantly like priming her the right way?
Yeah. So like you hear there's many issues that couples have, but one issue maybe is that there's one person that wants sex more than the other one. And this works in both sexes, where it be the woman in the relationship that wants more sex than the man, or the man that wants more sex than the woman. So in this example, we're going to use the man wanting more sex than the woman, which is I feel like a very typical example. And they've reached a point where the woman is like, all right, like you need to chill, like I got you, but like we're not going anywhere. There's no need to be rushing and doing this everything. Right? I'm just using those are my own words. I don't even know if that's what they say. All right, so ladies, please, all right, just for lack of better words, because I could hear it in my head.
You're like, what the fuck does he mean?
So now, if the man recognizes this and sees an opportunity that, all right, I'm gonna really like put a hard effort in here to mix things up on a regular basis, and so that I can maximize my chances of engaging in sex when when I want to, and kind of keeping it where it's not something that I really need to prime to do, where it just stays very spontaneous like we used to. Do you think that those conditions being kept are sustainable for a woman so that she can be on the same level that the man is? Now keeping in respect that of course there is that 1 week where the office is closed. we're doing renovations. We're closed for business.
I still don't think that's 100% sustainable.
Okay. Well,
because it's just not.
Saying there is a chance.
Yeah. It's just not It's just not about the spontaneity.
That's the dumb man talking right there.
Because I could tell you right now that spontaneity sometimes is not like one of the favorite things. You know, you have to think about some of the other things that come into play when you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
For example, you and I, we've been together well over a decade at this point. And, you know, we have children and, you know, we have jobs. So it just can't be like, yo, girl, what's good? I'm coming through. Like that dynamic is not really, doesn't take part in our relationship anymore. Yeah. So spontaneity is maybe not like the one thing that you have to focus on. I think what is probably the most important, and this is actually one of my recommendations as to how two people in a relationship can try to overcome issues if you're having them when it comes to hormones, male versus female, is communication. Yeah. And communicating in a way where you are really getting to try to understand why your partner is having these desires or lack of desires and what can be done to resolve. I can tell you right now, every couple is going to have these issues for the most part. This is just, it's normal human for a man to have more of a sex drive for the most part, more than a woman, because of the cycles that we go through.
Right.
I get the impression that sometimes in a relationship, one of the partners has this like ideal of what it is that they want. And they are forgetting that perfection is not real. So, and that's where the communication comes in, because I don't think at any given point, I don't think anyone's needs are going to be 100% met, no matter what. I think you can really strive to satisfy your partner, but for it to be perfection, I think is unrealistic.
I'm gonna beg to differ on that.
Okay.
And I'm gonna confidently say that someone who has very low needs, that their expectations could be met, and they could be very satisfied in their relationship. I feel like different.
We're talking about sex. We're not talking about in a relationship.
Okay, and I'm talking about even sexually. There's some people out there that are not very. They don't have a, for lack of a better term, they don't have a wide. They don't have a variety of experiences that they need to satisfy their desires. You know, they don't have a insatiable appetite for all these different experiences. They're very, we'll call it vanilla, you know, very vanilla, you know, just none of that kinky, crazy stuff, you know, like, and so I could see someone like that being very content and their needs being met.
Again, Eva, I think you are speaking about the minority versus the majority, because I think we're speaking about the majority of, like, you know,
right. I was just commenting on what you were saying, that you were saying nobody's needs can be 100% met.
In regards to what we're talking about. In
regards to sex.
Yes, if we're talking about like normal functioning couples, we're not talking about the minority. We're talking about the majority of people that are potentially going through these issues. Okay. I don't think
so that's a bit different than what you were saying. Then I guess I got the way you said it kind of sounded to me that you were just
there's
speaking.
There's always gonna be an exception to the rule. Like,
yes,
the way that I always think about it is that we're gonna have this conversation, we're gonna put it on social media, and then someone's gonna go, not me.
You know it. So that's why I feel like I needed to point that out, because there is that one person or group of people that always come up and they're saying the exact opposite of what we're talking about, because and then there's 50 other comments of people going, yo, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I'm referring to those people, and there's always going to be a minority, and then there's times that we'll focus on areas that are minority driven, but like we're trying to address things that overall people are going to experience, right? And it's funny that you bring that up, because I was actually reading a study that did a study on about 1,200 people. And a lot of the times people will say things like, well, did they test, or did they do the study on the entire population? Otherwise, it doesn't directly correlate. And what I find interesting is that, and I heard someone say this recently, is that what happens to most people happens to most people. Yeah. I mean,
So
I think that anybody who feels that any study is based on the world's like being used as a test, it's just crazy.
if you have a study group of 1,200 people, more than likely the information that you're receiving from that study group is really going to be able to apply to the majority of people throughout the country. That being said, in the study, what I thought was so interesting is that about 60% of couples are experiencing difficulties when it comes to trying to satisfy their partner's sexual desires.
Yeah.
So if one of the partners is maybe having difficulty communicating what it is that they want, that is very normal. Whereas if a person is then going into another relationship and then receiving full satisfaction of their sexual needs, right? That will only give them about a 13 to 15% satisfaction overall when it comes to their relationship. So follow me here.
No, I get you. I mean, this sex is a very small portion of the relationship.
Meanwhile, the majority of people are experiencing that problem, and then there's times that people will just be like, "Yeah, I need more sex," and they're focusing on this like ideal of perfection of what it is that they want sexually, and then they will go and seek that. They will get that perfection, and then everything else will be shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's that direct hit to dopamine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so and sex just generally just feels good. So,
Yeah.
when all else fails, fuck it. Like, let's have sex. I mean, it's I can see why someone may be so. Someone may be so. Yeah, I know. I've been constantly showing it. I can see why someone may be so persistent on having sex, even though there may be issues going on outside of the relationship. I mean, going on inside of the relationship, other issues that need attention, that they still might be very persistent about sex because it just always leads to that feel-good feeling.
Okay, I can understand that, but this is why I find it so interesting, and this is why one of my recommendations is communicating. You have to be very realistic about what it is that you are trying to achieve with your partner, because sexual desire is not always going to be both of the partners' focus. One of the partners could be somebody that is just very happy with the fact that their partner is supportive and faithful and a good husband, or there's so many other factors that play into a relationship. So sometimes if their sexual needs are not always being met to perfection, they're willing to chalk that up as overall I have a great relationship. But sometimes people get so fucking laser focused on the fact that their sexual needs are not being met.
I mean, some people, they're just very accustomed to getting what they want. And their happiness revolves heavily on them being able to get what it is that they want. And if it doesn't, then it makes them feel very down and unsatisfied, and they get all in their head about it.
And it's interesting because you and I were talking earlier, and one of the comments that I made to you was as far as what I think that people should look into when they're experiencing these type of conflict within a relationship, when you have a man that is looking for sex more and a woman that isn't. I said to you that I thought that men needed to lower their expectations, and I think that caused a little bit of like a rift between you and I, because you gave me an example that was, what if the man's expectation is 3 times a day and he lowers his expectation to 1 time a day? Is that still reasonable? And then I said no.
Yeah.
And then you and I kind of, I don't want to say we got into it, but there was some back and forth. And then I placed it back on you because there was a recommendation that you had made that I thought made so much sense to that one particular situation, of something a man should do if he's experiencing this type of drive.
Yes. So I felt that it's very important for a person to internalize what's going on. All right. So what I mean by that is, there's obviously an issue going on where someone's needs are not being met. And obviously understanding an issue is getting down to the root of the problem. So I believe that problems should be sought out internally first to see if it's an internal issue, and if not, then try to resolve it externally. And because sex drive is so tied to hormones with men, I feel that if there's a disconnect between you and your significant other sexually, that a man should get himself checked first to understand where his body is hormonally and as far as testosterone goes.
And why would the tests help them?
Well, it would help them understand if they have an excessive amount of testosterone that is causing them to have a high sex drive, or if they're having a low amount of testosterone, which is giving them low sex drive, which can also cause problems in a relationship where, the woman in the relationship or the other person in the relationship is seeking more sex than the man is willing to offer. That can also be very problematic. And so identifying that first can be a great way of understanding where the problem lies. So in the example that in the example that we were talking about was totally different, but I find it important that if a man's testosterone is low, then just by getting his levels checked, he can find out that, okay, the problem is with me. Obviously, if I just get myself maybe some hormone replacement therapy and bring myself back up to optimal levels, I'll be able to maybe have the urges to want to have sex more. But without getting checked, he may think like, this girl's crazy. Like she's the problem. You know what I mean? She wants way too much fucking sex. She's a nympho. Like,
it could be the other way around. It could be like the man's sex drive is too high.
Right.
And he's requesting sex way too often, and he's looking at the woman like she's crazy because she's not engaging as much.
I don't know if there's a way to lower a man's testosterone if he's really if he really has high levels naturally. In that case, again, that's still good to know, because then I would suggest to the person that maybe monogamy is not something that is a relationship that you should be in.
Oh,
yeah, because if you are constantly seeking sex because you have a high sex drive, and it's totally natural, you're very, and so demanding lots of sex from one person that is monogamous can be very stressful on a person that is just that's not the lifestyle that they want to live. And it's important to even step into a relationship, and find out what the sexual boundaries are, because some people, they need that ability to be able to socialize and have different experiences. It's just what satisfies their sexual appetite. And some people don't. So when you have somebody who is very high sex driven and somebody who's not, understanding where you are hormonally as far as a man goes can really play a key role in placing yourself in the right position to satisfy yourself, so that doesn't become an issue in the relationship. So I think that having after the age of 30, right, men start to experience something that's called andropause, where they slowly start to lose their testosterone, right?
And the same thing happens to women.
The same thing happens to women. It really doesn't become something that is an issue until late 40s, 50s. But still, there is that transition to where it starts to diminish, that at some point, either you're feeling down and now you don't feel great about yourself, you don't feel confident, you don't feel energetic, you don't feel sexual, you're starting to feel frustrated, and that can affect your relationship that you have with your significant other.
And just to think that happens to a woman every month.
Yes. Happens to a woman every month.
Men are like, when I turn 50, I lose my testosterone, I lose my confidence. Women like, every fucking 13 days that happens to me.
I mean, I don't, it's interesting because I've been seeing things, and I don't really want to get into this too much, but I do want to touch on it. I've been seeing things that with the way that our lifestyles are built right now, with our diet and everything that we're taking, there's a lot of things that actually affect the male hormone and decrease it.
I have seen this
quicker than
what one of the worst things are?
What's that?
Plastics.
So this may be an issue that may be going on that's happening a lot sooner than we think in men. So my advice to anyone that's in this situation where either their sex drive is way too high, or there's an issue where their partner is not giving them enough sex, before you start pointing the finger at your partner's the problem, take a look within yourself first. Get to know yourself. Really find out where you are in the situation. And I think that's an important piece of information when it comes to the next step and finding out where the middle ground is.
Yeah, I think that that's great advice, to self-reflect on what it is that you are physically going through, to better understand like why you have this potential hyper focus or lack of want of something that two people are looking to engage in. I would make the same recommendation for women. Something that has helped me immensely is tracking my cycle. It has really placed me in tune with my body and understanding why I'm feeling the ways that I feel during certain times of the month. Because I can tell you, the moment that I come out of having my menstrual, like when I hit day 7 up until day 14, so I have 7 days from when I exit menstrual, where I'm basically, there's, the egg is gone. Nothing is really in the works at the moment. I'm starting to see that increase in all 3 of my hormones, but I'm not that close to ovulation. I feel like a fucking beast in the gym because my body's not really working to do anything else at that current moment. When ovulation comes around, my brain kind of switches in the way where I am starting to think about sex a little bit more, right? Now my body is ovulating. It is preparing itself to potentially accept sperm for an egg, right? So my body is now working on something else. So working out for me sometimes can be a little bit harder. And I feel it. There's actually times where I can feel ovulation happening. I know a lot of women will concur this with me, that, ovulation, you feel what's going on in your body, and you actually get a change in your discharge. It changes its consistency, giving you the indication that you're ovulating, right? And then you kind of come out of the ovulating window, and now your cervix lining is like thickening a little bit, because the egg is kind of chilling a little bit, and I start to feel like even stronger, right? Because I'm still like a little bit at that height. But man, once I come out of that and it starts to go down again, started getting ready to go back into me getting, discharging the egg and all this other nonsense, I start to not feel as strong in the gym, and I start not to feel it as strong in like other things. There are times I feel like I need to push myself just to do daily tasks. And it's so frustrating when you have a partner looking at you like, hey girl, I know you had a long day at work. I know that, you did X, Y, Z things today, but can I get some head? You literally, that is like sometimes the last thing on a woman's mind. They're like, I am just fucking physically tired at this point.
So let's take a moment to try to help the men out there understand this a little bit better, for those that are actually interested in this, right?
Yeah, because there's a lot of
there's a lot of dudes out there who just don't give a fuck, who don't care to know. But like, for someone like myself, and I hope I speak for many other men out there, those that are actually interested in knowing, are there any signs, anything that a man can see or be able to pick up to know that his girlfriend or wife is going through one of these hormonal phases, or is there even a way to for them to be able to know what phase that they're in,
what she's in? A man can track his cycle with his woman.
Okay.
If you wanted to, you could use the same app that I use, and you can just, when I tell you it's my first day of my period, you can then just from that point track it with me if you want. And I think that's a little much. Yeah,
I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, that's a great idea, but I can tell you a lot of guys are not going to do that.
Yeah, I know. So honestly, Ivo, I tried to put 2 words in one. Honestly, I think the best advice, again, like I said, is communication. You can literally just ask.
There you go.
If you were just to ask, hey, honey, where are you in your cycle right now? You know, not every woman may know the answer to that, because I can tell you right now, when I was younger, I wasn't fucking tracking my cycle.
Right.
However, there was not the technology that there is now. A woman now could literally pick up her phone and go, I'm actually day 22. This is where my hormones should be.
Right.
And this is probably why I can tell you now, and I think you can agree with me on this, that's a lot of the times part of our conversation throughout the month. I can literally tell you, I'm ovulating right now. I'm in that, 2 to 3 day window right outside of my period. I'm about to have my period. I'm so tuned in to what it is.
It is very helpful, believe it or not.
Yes. I think it's extremely helpful, because there's some times where I snap at you and I go, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That came from fucking Hades in the depths right now. I am so sorry.
So for a lot of you men out there who are probably not on the same page as their girlfriend when it comes to their cycle, maybe give it a try. See if you understanding. Now, and this is not going to happen overnight. I mean, there takes some adjusting and some tweaking to this. But as far as the part that you play as a man in the relationship, try to get to understand where the cycles are and see how those moments, how you can react to them, right? What part can you play to either aid it or not add to the irritability of it.
Correct.
And how that can create a better balance between two people. I also was wondering.
I could tell you right now, one of the secrets is chocolate.
That was my question. So what are some of the things a man can do to help with some of these hormonal imbalances that women go through? Right.
Just get me
let them know.
But it can't be. Has to be a very specific type of chocolate.
Right. So find out what the specifics are, right? Obviously.
And this is what I mean about being fucking primed, Evo. This is not, okay, so once you settle into this rhythm in a relationship, because we're a song right now. We figured out the tunes, the rhythm, the beats, okay?
Yeah, we took the tuning fork to this motherfucker. We're like, boom, like we had to be in sync.
So, you know me very well right now. How many times have I looked at you and I just been like, chicken nuggets?
Chicken nuggets? or chocolate?
Or chocolate?
Chocolate cake?
Chocolate, exactly.
Yeah.
So when it comes to me, I love chocolate cake. However, I know there are many women that they're polar opposite and they like salty stuff.
Yeah.
That they want potato chips. They want, greasy foods. Find out what it is that is essential to your woman during those times. It's going to be so important and so valuable to her to know that you are taking the time to try to understand where she's at. Because then in turn, gentlemen, then maybe your woman will go the extra mile for you.
Yeah.
Where there may be times in the month where she's not as wanting, that she's going to see the desire in you and say, you know what? This man is there for me when I'm not feeling my best. I want to be there for him, even though, right now I'm not in that mental space. But when a man is not trying to understand a woman's cycle, but then is constantly just looking at her like, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
That then becomes a chore. It does not become a beautiful thing between husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. It loses its total essence.
Yeah. I'm gonna drop a little helpful hint to some of the guys out there that may not be there or still maybe in like the what the fuck is going on zone every time this time of the month comes. I co-sign a lot of your bullshit.
Oh,
right?
Yes, you do.
And what I mean about co-signing a lot of her bullshit is that I may be in a place where diet wise and fitness wise, I have my schedule that I'm on. But once a month I am right there with her at Cold Stone, getting ice cream and eating it with her. Or she wants pizza, we go and we get pizza and I'm eating a pizza with you.
And it's not just that, it goes beyond that. It's that, hey, I know that you have 17 things to do today, but can you just sit on the couch with me and watch 3 episodes of Vikings? Because I'm just so exhausted right now. Watching you run around this house makes me feel somewhat bad about myself, because I can't control what's happening to me right now. I'm literally so tired that my brain is not functioning. I think a couple of days this past week, you'd be talking to me and go, I'm sorry, my brain just did not hear a fucking word you just said. It just, it bounced off like glue.
Yeah.
You co-sign a lot of my things, but I think I want men to even go a little bit further. Don't wait for her to ask for things. Have it already.
Yes, that is helpful. But I think the very important part of what I'm saying is that I transitioned into this. Like, this is not something that I did, that I brought into this relationship.
Yeah.
You know, where I was like, oh, yeah, I already know that this time of the month, I need to be there. I need to be there. And it was like, you know, it was, no. There we went through our phases, which is particularly why we're talking about this.
Correct.
You know, we went through that part of our relationship where you were feeling one way. I was like, what the fuck is going on? This shit is crazy. Stay the fuck away from me. Like, I'm not talking to you right now. You know, we're arguing. We're just not seeing eye to eye. And at some point I became curious to know what can be done to make this better.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with just one time. I think I gave in and I got you something and I saw your reaction. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh shit. That's actually really good, and considering the environment that we're in, you know, as far as, you know, you being on your menstrual. And then slowly I started to kind of play with that and, you know, and move and build on it. And, you know, now we are where we are. So
it also happens, though, not just during my menstrual. It happens sometimes when I'm ovulating, sometimes more than others. Because when I'm ovulating, sometimes I notice that so when my body's doing extra work, on top of all the other things that it naturally has to do, like fucking pump my heart and breathe air and all this other things and move my limbs, right? When it has to, my reproductive system has to be functioning, right? My body wants to consume more calories, especially because I'm fit, right? Because I'm fit, my body, you and I looked at the calorie burn that you and I have just on a regular.
Yeah.
So could you imagine that when my body's doing extra work, I'm looking to eat more. So
I can see that. Yeah, sure.
That being said, I think it just always goes back to communication and really understanding where your woman is at in her cycle. The only part that I don't have full understanding of right now is when a woman is outside of a cycle, when a woman goes into menopause, because to me that's a whole nother avenue that I would love to explore one day. But I think right now we're talking about when you are dealing with a woman that is experiencing a 28-day cycle, or, you know, however many days it is for a woman, because every woman is different. And even further in, like a woman that experiences her cycle every 28 days, every now and then it could come every 35, you know, it just happens. So when someone takes the time to understand their partner's overall workings, it holds so much weight.
Yeah.
So that when a man is then looking to his wife or his girlfriend or his partner to engage in something, she's going to remember that, you know, she's not going to look at it as a chore. But when you're just like, you're expecting it, then it's lost all context.
Yeah, I mean, there's there is this level of expectation that certain people have, and you know, and men in particular, that, you know, if they're gonna be monogamous and if they're not gonna stick this dick in any other woman, then then the one that I have right now needs to satisfy these needs. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that is such a archaic way of thinking, but okay.
It is, you know, but I'm not trying to defend this type of thought and action in any which way.
Yeah, no,
but,
I know you're not.
You know, you have to understand also that when you couple the constant sex drive, right? You put together the daily cycle of daily testosterone, right? And it starting off in the morning, like you wake up to this, like, I want to have sex. Testosterone being linked to being competitive, right? Where men are just naturally competitive, where they need to outdo each other in everything. Who's got the most money? Who's got the best cars? Who's got the flyest clothes? Who's got the best lifestyle? Who's having the most sex? And so, which is another reason why that, you know, I'm sure women don't really understand this, which is why men brag about sex, because it's just one of the competitive things that they do. You know, who's having the most of it. And so when you put that testosterone, daily cycles, and it's starting off first thing in the morning, and now I only have one source of relieving this, and there's also constant regular urges to ejaculate. You know, it's a physical thing that a man feels. When you put all those together and then only having one outlet for that, it can lead. It's kind of a recipe for disaster for a man that doesn't really understand his emotions and what he's going through.
I would agree.
You know, so yeah, it can get messy, and which is why you have like that archaic
way of thinking
that goes about where, well, you know, I've got these emotions. Now I'm like in the situation where I only have one way to resolve it, and you know, and it's not really being resolved the way that I would like it to be.
Yeah.
You know, so again, self-reflecting, getting to know your body, understanding where you are, and then kind of like trying to find a middle ground at that point is definitely a helpful hint.
Yeah, if you're looking for your relationship to overcome these issues, that is going to be the only way that you will do it. Avoiding them or seeking outside of it is not going to be the answer. Just one thing that I want to add, and then, you know, we can wrap it up, is when we talk about people's desires and the things that you may want, right? If you always were to give in to every desire you ever had because of this drive that you have, could you think about all the horrible places you would be in life? So getting to know yourself, I think, is so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And exhibiting like self-control. But I think sometimes men will forget that, and women, you know, they will forget, okay, yes, these are my desires and I'm going to act on them. But I don't think that people look at the big picture of how just because it's a desire, it doesn't always need to be met, because if you're always giving yourself what you think you want, is that what you really need? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Our needs are definitely different than what our wants are, for sure.
Because I could tell you, I want pizza. I could eat it every day, all day. Yeah. But I would be fucked up if I did that. You know?
It's, you know, and the fucked up thing is that men have this physical need to ejaculate, because it's just there's the constant reproduction of sperm and, you know, in the scrotum, and you feel it, like you just feel like it almost feels like a sexual desire, but you know that it's like you're down here, you just got this feeling like you want that feeling of ejaculation. You know, it's almost like, and this may be fucked up, but it's like, you know, when you're hungry, your stomach starts growling and you need to fucking put food inside of that.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Right? So when that you get that feeling in your pelvic area for a man, I know I'm definitely speaking for myself, that you want to ejaculate. You know, so you put that together with testosterone and whatever, all the other things we just talked about, and you know, it kind of turns into a need for a man, you know, in some cases. I'm not saying that
the need should, I'm not saying that it's not a need, but okay, you have to, there still has to be, there's an element of self-control that has to be put in play.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm not trying to downplay that in any which way whatsoever.
I'm not ignoring the fact that men have different needs than women.
No, not trying to give nobody a pass on that, you know, just because you got needs, that fuck everything else. No, there definitely has to be
balance. That is the point. That's the point that I'm getting at, because I know that men and women are different, and I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh, well, men should think like women. I think men should think like men, but I think men should try to understand women.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a level of restraint,
and vice versa.
There's definitely a level of restraint that more men need to practice, and in getting to know themselves will help them manage that.
Correct.
And I think that will be helpful with the relationship that they're currently in, if it's a situation where they feel like they're not getting enough.
Yeah,
you know, maybe like it's like you told we had the, you know, it was the way that you worded it, right? So when we were talking, you were like, you just need to lower your expectations.
Eva was like, what do you mean?
And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on.
You know what's so funny to me? And then, you know what I thought about? Of course, as I was running, I was like, you know what? Because I was saying that, you know, ladies, we also need to speak up and tell our men how we like to be prime. I was like, men need to start doing what these birds are doing in nature, and they need to start like, clearing the nest. They need to start doing fucking dances.
Put on a show. Like.
Yeah, because if you look at it, the majority of male birds in nature are the most colorful because of what they have to do to get a woman's attention. Yeah. So men, do yourself a favor, okay? Be flamboyant. Put on the show. Clean up the house. You know, listen, Ivo and I saw a video the other day of a person that hired a cleaning company for their house, and they came in and they scrubbed baseboards. That was the most immense turn on that I've seen in a long time.
I'll be definitely dead honest with you, right? I've been blown away sometimes by the way you look at me when you've been gone all day, or you've gone on a job where you're gone for a couple of days, and you come home and the house is clean.
What?
Yo, I get this look that I just, like, for a while I didn't understand it, like, because at first when I saw it,
and then Ivo,
I didn't know what was going on.
Ivo also knows how to lay it on real thick, because I remember one time I was gone on a trip, like a work trip for like, I don't know, like a week, and you picked me up at the airport with our daughter with flowers, and then I came home and the house was clean, and he waxed the floors, and then told me that he waxed the floors like 3 times while I was gone, and I was like, oh, it's about to go.
It doesn't help that I'm like, I'm like a worker, right? I like to work, and so our relationship, it's work. You know, not in the sense like a job, but it takes a lot of energy to,
of course,
to keep it going, right? So when you're not around, like, I have this overflow surplus of just energy, and and I got to put it into something, so I end up usually putting it into the house, which you love, which is just like, wow. Yeah. So listen, fellas, clean up,
Listen, there's this guy that I follow on TikTok, and God, I forget his name, and then we are going to end this. He has this joke. You know that song from Mulan, "We Are Men," fighting, that song? Yeah. And it's just him doing odd and repairs around the house, and then every time it says "we are men," he like zooms into what he's doing, and it's like him cleaning the vents, him cleaning the washing machine, him mowing the lawn, and he talks about like that's what real men do. So that's part of the priming. You get what I'm saying? Listen,
I get it.
It a little bit goes such a long way sometimes. Okay, I hope that this information that we provided to you was healthy and helpful.
Yep.
And we would always love to hear from you and hear your thoughts. We're probably going to get them anyway.
Drop some questions in the comment section. Let us know if there's something that that we didn't answer that you'd like to hear.
Or you're like, you motherfuckers are way off.
Yeah, let us know. We would love to hear that too.
But actually, until next Friday, ladies and gentlemen, peace out.
Peace out.